started now. All you need is a yoga block, and if you're near a wall, that'd be great. We're gonna put our feet up against the wall a couple of times with the block mostly in between our legs. So if you have that, wonderful. And if you don't, you can still do the exercises without. It'll just be nice for some added feedback. So to start, take your yoga block and you're just going to put it on your mat, and you're going to come to sit on top of it. And then just let your legs be cross-legged and sort of relax down in front of you. And take a second and just notice if your legs kind of feel like they want to pull up, or if you're able to let them relax down. So first things first, you can let your arms be heavy on your hands be heavy on your legs. Take a nice big inhale. Try to feel yourself expand in all directions, really breathing into that back and the sides. And then on your exhale, just try to think about your legs relaxing down. One more inhale. And then exhale. Same thing, think about that relaxing down. From here, you're going to extend your right arm long. And then on your exhale, you're just going to slowly send your left ear towards your left elbow. And then reach with those right fingertips. And then you can reach down with your fingertips towards the floor. And then you can sweep them up. And sort of find where you get a nice stretch here. And if you'd like, you can grab onto your right ear with your left hand. Just really thinking about reaching away, creating length in the side of that neck. Through that right arm. And then from here, you're going to rotate your gaze towards the floor. Your chin is going to come down towards your collarbone, but you still have space in between your chin and your collarbone. And same thing, let that arm float up. And then press it down. 2 or 3 more times, just going with your own breath. Trying to get that nice stretch to the side of your neck now. Maybe a little bit more towards the back. One more. And then rotate your ear back to the side. Drop both hands by your side. Send your chin around, drag it by your collarbone, and then lift towards the front as you bring your right ear to your right shoulder. And then you're going to rotate down, send that right ear back behind you as you bring your chin towards your collarbone, sweep it up and over to the left, and then add that little rotation forward, and then look back down towards the floor. Rotate yourself back over to the right. Open up and look. Just check in with your arms. Don't aggressively reach down, but just let them be nice and heavy. Again, rotate, let that collarbone drag along, chin along your collarbone, looking forward. One more time, you're going to pause over at the right. Excuse me. Right ear towards your right shoulder, and then just reach away with that left arm. Take 1 or 2 more breaths here, just reaching. And then when you're ready, you can start to lift that arm up. And then send it back down. Same thing, you can always bring your right hand to your right ear. Keeping a bit of space between your ear and your shoulder. And if you find a spot where you get just a really good stretch, you can always stay there. Just make sure you're breathing and not holding your breath here. And then rotate that chin down towards your collarbone. Getting into the back side more so of the neck here. Lifting and lowering that arm as you breathe. One more time. And then you're going to release your hand, turn your head towards the front, and then chin down along your collarbone, drag it across. And then this time you're going to come, instead of just looking forward, you're going to slowly rotate that chin up towards the ceiling, and then rotate it back down towards your collarbone. And then glide it along the collarbone over to the right side, ear, and then slightly bringing that chin and gaze up towards the ceiling, but you're not jutting your head forward, you're keeping it in line here. And then rotate your chin down towards your collarbone, glide it along over to the left. And then again, add that little opening to get a little more stretch in the front of your neck. side and back down. Hopefully after this class, you'll feel like everything's just moving a little easier. If you're feeling stuck, I very much feel like my ribs are stuck. My neck is all stiff. One more time to the right. Last time to the left. Open up towards the ceiling just a little bit. And then let your head fall down to the center. And then stack your spine all the way up tall. Reach your fingertips out and over towards the right, side bend to the right. Think about reaching long through your left hand. Think about breathing into those top ribs and then just come all the way up and over to the left. Same thing, a nice big side bend. As you exhale, maybe reach a tiny bit longer with that right hand. And then you're just going to come up to the right one more time. And up and over towards the left. This time to the right, you're going to come over and pause, but bring your left hand behind your head. You're going to rotate down towards the ceiling, or down towards the floor. Think about length through the crown of your head still, even though you're in this C curve. And then you're just going to rotate around your right arm as you open gently towards the ceiling. Watch what happens with your left leg in particular, and then rotate back down towards the floor. Think about, yes, your head is rotating, but think more about what your ribs are doing. So here your ribs are opening back and open towards the ceiling, and then they're closing off. You're bringing those right ribs back underneath as your left ribs come forward. 2 more, open. And then just moving with your breath. And then last time opening here, and then bend into that right arm, side bend up and over, even more to that right side, and then come all the way up and over, but this time hand to your head. Find that little bit of length even though you're in your C curve. Rotate your ribs towards the floor, and then rotating around that left shoulder, open up towards the ceiling, and then back down towards the floor. And open up. And back down. Last time opening towards the ceiling, just notice if you're finding it a little bit easier maybe to rotate, you're getting a little bit more range of motion. And then side bend, really big side bend one more time to the right, and then come all the way up here, and then come off of your block. You're going to place your block between your thighs, like relatively high up towards your pelvis, not super close to your knees. And you're just going to come into all fours. So keeping that nice length that we just developed through our sides and that little relaxing of our neck. You're going to have your shoulders right underneath, right over your hands, your knees right over your hips. Neck is nice and long. Almost think like someone has grabbed your hips and is gently pulling them back away from you, but you're resisting to find that extra length through the hips. From here, give that block just a little squeeze. Notice what happens through your abdominals as you release. And then again on your inhale, exhale, give that block a gentle squeeze. And release. 2 more, inhale. You can always look down at your abdominals to see what's happening, making sure they're not pressing out towards the floor. Inhale here, exhale. Give that block a nice squeeze. Good. From here, on your inhale, you're going to find length through the front of your body. You can almost think about your inner thighs rotating out away from you. And then curl the tailbone under like you're going to send the block forward towards your hands as you round your spine up towards the ceiling. And then find that nice extension. Widening through the sitting bones and feeling them draw in that little gentle press forward of the block. And then coming forward, finding that extension. 2 more. Doesn't have to be huge, just what feels good. Last one. And then pause here. Tuck the toes under and take a nice big inhale. Exhale again, feel that movement of the femur sort of moving back behind you, that waist through your sides, and then keeping that as you just float your knees off the floor. Take a nice big inhale here. Exhale, squeeze the block. Inhale, release. Exhale, squeeze the block. Inhale, release. Squeezing and release. 4 more. Inhale, squeeze. Going at your own pace with your breath. 2. And last one. Get in and bring your knees back down to the floor. Untuck the toes. And then from here, keeping yourself nice and square, you're just going to tap your right hand to your left arm or left shoulder and then bring it down. Staying on that same side, giving that block a little squeeze as you lift the arm off the floor. And then give it a squeeze as you tap the opposite shoulder. 3 more. 2. Last one. And then other side. So tapping the right shoulder now with that left hand, picking it up, tap, and bring it back down. Keeping your shoulders square, your hips square, and adding in that little inner thigh engagement. Looking for both of those legs working together. 3 more. 2. And last one. Lower that leg down and then take the block out and just put it just in front of you. And then from here, you're just going to float your left toes under, bring that knee up off the floor. Adding a little extra challenge, you're going to tap that right shoulder or left shoulder with the right hand. And then you're going to extend the leg as you bring that hand back down towards the floor. Moving nice and slowly. This time you're keeping that foot and leg entirely off the ground as you tap your knee, bring the leg in. Place your hand on the ground as you extend the leg. Bend and tap the shoulder. Extend and place the hand on the ground. 4 more. Even though you don't have that block in between the inner thighs, sort of feel the inherent connection they have towards one another. They're still drawing in gently towards one another. You have that X across the front of your body supporting you. 2 more. And last one. Good, and then lower that leg down. Curl the right toes under. Bring that right knee off the floor. Tap your right shoulder with your left hand. Bring that leg out behind you as you extend that left arm down towards the floor. Bring the knee in, tap the shoulder, extend and place the hand down. Back in and extend. Six more. Keeping those hips nice and still. Make sure your weight hasn't fallen all the way over towards the left. 3. Good. 2. And last one. And then bring that leg down underneath you. And then walk your knees back. Sit back towards a child's pose for a second. Round your back up and over your legs. Your stomach can rest on your legs. Just take a nice big inhale here. And then exhale. Try to melt into the floor. Take one more inhale. And this time peel yourself forward and find yourself in a nice kneeling plank. Tuck your hips under so that you're nice and supported. And then you're going to alternate tapping that left arm, right arm, left arm, right arm. Trying to reduce the opening through the chest and the hips. It is definitely hard, even in a modified plank. So from here, you can always bring your knees underneath you more. You can tuck your toes under to give you a little bit more stability as well. Or if you'd like to progress this, you can extend one leg off the floor for a few. And then alternate and extend the opposite leg for a few, or you can just stay here. We're going to do 4 more to each side. And then give your wrists a nice break. 2 more. Make sure your hips haven't shifted too far back behind you. Last time tapping the right shoulder, last time tapping the left shoulder. And then from here, bring the knees nice and wide and sit back. You can bring your block with you and you can place your hands onto your block if that feels good. And then just let your chest sort of sink below your arms. Feeling a nice stretch possibly through the armpits. Nice big breath in, feeling your back ribs expand up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, melting down towards the floor. 1 more time in. And exhale. Good. And then coming back up. So you're going to place your block on the mat. And you're going to come down onto your forearms and have your right knee on the block. Your left knee is on the ground. You want your knees over your hips or your shoulders over your elbows. And then from here, you are just going to find a nice, I know this sounds ridiculous, neutral pelvis. So you want to make sure that your ribs aren't like super, super flared. You're not arching your back. You're not trying to round your back. You want to find that nice extension, that nice connection between your ribs and your hips. It can be hard. And then you're going to point your toe or sort of have it be neutral back behind you. And you're just going to externally rotate that femur, and then internally rotate it. Start feeling the width across the back of your hips, externally rotate that leg. Again, this is all coming from the femur moving in the hip. And back in. And out. And if you get a spot where you feel like it's a little crunchy or sticky, for lack of a better term, just note that that's sort of the range of motion in this position, and maybe you've come back too far and your hips are too far back over your butt, or you're not giving yourself enough space. So again, you're not in a side bend here. You have that space through the side body, that length through the torso. 1 more time to each side. Good, and then press up onto your hands. Tuck the toes under, and then you're going to pull that left leg up so that your hips are nice and even. And then from here, and if this is too much on your hands, you can always come back down to your forearms. You're just going to drop that left leg towards the floor and then pick it back up to be square and square your hips. Good, and then dropping that leg down and then pulling it back up. So you're finding your pelvis sort of slide around the femur and then bring it back up in that right side. Taking a second to look down at your hips to make sure that you're not reaching up and over towards the right, leaning or sticking your hip out. We're going to do 2 more. Last one. Good, and then lower that left knee. Bring the block in between your knees, but it is on the ground, but you're squeezing it. And come down onto your forearms. Toes tuck under. Take a nice deep breath in. And then exhale. Pull the block up off the floor. And then resist back down. And then again, inhale. Feel the elbows slide back towards your hips as you pick the block up off the ground. I think I'm lifting it maybe 1/2 inch. It's just barely coming off. Hips are going straight up. Feeling both hips sort of work together, not sort of, but work together here too. And last one. And lower it all the way down. Come up on your hands just to readjust. Block's going to come under that left knee now. Back onto your forearms. So again, knees right underneath your hips. I noticed my knee was too close in on that right side before, so I'm going to move it just a tiny bit farther back. So toes come up off the floor. You're going to externally rotate that left leg and then resist not resist. You're just going to go with it. You're just going to internally and externally rotate here for a minute or so, finding that nice full range of motion, whatever it is for you on this side. Check in with your torso. Make sure you're in as nice of a neutral as works for you. 4 more. Again, focusing on that length through your sides. Last one. And then tuck those toes under, tuck your right toes under, and then come up into all fours, or again, if you prefer to stay on your forearms, that's fine. You're gonna pick yourself up so that your hips are nice and square. And then you're gonna take the right toes off the ground so that that right leg is floating. And then from here, you're just gonna rotate your pelvis around the femur. The femur is the fixed point towards the floor. Then you're gonna pick it back up to find yourself in a nice square position here. And then let it slide around that femur. Think like it's a pole in the ground and your pelvis is just rotating around it. I can't think of a good metaphor that isn't Purim related, so that's not helpful. Like a tether ball, I guess. Your femur is the pole and your leg and pelvis is the ball. 2 or 3 more. This should feel pretty nice, especially after a few rounds. Last one. Good, and then lower your hips all the way down. Take that block out from under you, and then place it on your mat, kind of dead center in the mat, and then bring your feet around it. You're gonna sit up nice and tall. Arms are gonna reach out in front of you. You're gonna squeeze the block with your legs, but think, even though it's in between your feet, that the engagement is coming from the front of your legs. Tuck the tailbone under. Feel the space in the front of your hips as you give that squeeze, feeling your sacrum open, and then you're gonna lay all the way down onto the floor. Bring your head down and slide your legs underneath you with that block still in between your feet. Taking a nice big inhale here, and then exhale, sort of melt into the floor. Think about your back ribs being nice and wide on the mat, nice and heavy. You can always bring your hands sort of here to breathe into them for a second to give you a little feedback of where to go. And then you're gonna float your arms up towards the ceiling. Let your shoulders be nice and heavy. Take a big inhale. And then exhale, send your arms down as you peel the head, neck, and shoulders up, giving those inner thighs a squeeze, grabbing onto that block. And you're gonna lower all the way back down. We're just gonna do 3 more. Noticing where you want to squeeze first. Do you want to start the engagement for the top of your abs, working down towards your pelvic floor, or are you doing the reverse? The reverse is ideal. The ribs are sort of, and upper abs are the last thing to wrap in. Pause here. Inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, press them down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, press down. 3 more. 2, thinking about drawing your ribs toward your hips. Last one. Reach the fingertips, lower all the way down, and then float the arms down by your side. Think about doing the reverse now. So you're gonna bring your hips towards your ribs and then start to peel yourself all the way up into a nice bridge here. Shoulders stay on the floor, ribs are heavy, and then peel yourself all the way down, 1 vertebrae at a time. Adjust your feet if you need to bring them a little closer to you. And then again, feel that gentle squeeze, but this time you're gonna take the block and put it in between your thighs. Changing it up already. All right, so find that gentle squeeze, tuck the tailbone under, and then peel yourself all the way up. Feel that squeeze continue of the block. Finding that help, or letting that help you find the engagement through the low abs, and then release all the way back down. Inhale, release, exhale, squeeze. Start that low ab engagement, middle abs feel your transverse sort of wrap around. Those are like your corset muscles. And peel yourself all the way back down and release. 2 more. And release. Last one like this, and we're going to pause at the top. So find whatever height is comfortable for you. You're going to relax that squeeze on the block about halfway and then squeeze it in. Feel what happens to your abdominals and your ribs. Just from that gentle lift and squeeze of the inner thighs for 8, 7, 6, 5, it's tiny, 4, 3, last one, hold the squeeze, and then release it slightly, and then let your pelvis rotate up and over towards the right, and then square it off. Think about reaching the knees long, even as you rotate that pelvis and your left knee pulls back slightly. Think about reaching them long in the center. And then rotate over towards the right. You're sort of never letting go of at least a gentle squeeze on the block as you rotate your hips from right to left. The rib cage stays still. You're just moving that pelvis. Once more to the right. Last one to the left. And then give that block a little squeeze and lower all the way down. Good. You're going to put the block, you're going to leave the block in between your knees. But from here, you're going to float your right leg to a tabletop position, still squeezing. It may be a modified tabletop if it's more comfortable to keep your knees in line with one another. And then from here, you're just going to press yourself up into a bridge, extend that leg long. Bend that knee as you drop your hips. Extend the leg as you lift the hips, and then bend back down. Think about that squeeze on the block sort of helping you find that connection as you lift. Keep your hips nice and square for 4, 3, let both legs do the work even though one foot is on the ground. 2, last one, pause here. Tap that toe down towards the floor and extend for 6. Tap. 5, feel that left heel drag in towards your glute. Even when that right leg comes in, feel the connection through the hamstring, the back of the leg as you bend in. 2 more. Last one. Bring that leg down. Square the hips off. Let your inner thighs release slightly here. And then peel yourself all the way back down. Give your hips a little shake from one side to the other. And then bring that left leg now into this little modified tabletop. Feel the drag in of the right heel towards your shoulders, finding that hamstring engagement as you float the hips up, giving the block a squeeze. Left leg extends, bend down, and lift. 6 more. Check in on that right shoulder. Make sure it hasn't started to come up off the floor. If it has, you can sort of change the positioning. You can bring that upper arm, or lower arm rather, bent to help you press down. My sound machine just turned on for some reason, not sure why. 2 more. Turn it off. Pause here, tap your toe down for 6. 5, hips stay nice and square. They're not high off the floor, but they are square. 3, 2, last one. Place that foot down on the ground. Lift the hips up to whatever is your highest comfortable position, and then peel yourself down 1 vertebrae at a time. And now you're going to take the block out and just put it off to the side. And you're going to roll over onto your right side. You're going to have your hand underneath your head, and then you're going to bring the block back in line with or back in between your thighs. And you're just going to let your knees be heavy, and you're going to let them rest one on top of the other. Both hands are supporting your head, And you're just gonna open up, reach that front, reach the top knee forward slightly as you reach the left elbow and ribs around to open up. And you're just gonna rotate back to the center. So from this position, you do want to make sure that your shoulder is connected to your rib. You have length through your sides, but your hips are nice and square. So you're not collapsed down onto the ground and then trying to rotate. You're in this nice neutral position where you have actual space to move. And then bring yourself all the way back. You can also bring your hand to your ribs if that is a more comfortable place for you to be, to rotate. And back forward. Again, check in on that top leg. That block kind of helps keep that leg even more in alignment with your hips. And forward one more time like this. Good, and then coming all the way forward. So from here, you're gonna come up and find the wall. So I will have my feet up against the wall so that you can see, but then you may not be able to see my head when I put it down, which is fine as long as you can still hear me. So you want to be in a nice 90-degree position. So your feet are planted on the floor, their ankles at a 90 degrees, knees at a 90 degrees, hips at a 90 degrees. You have that same little space, whether real or just thought of, so that you're in a nice neutral position. Through the torso, you have space. You're going to press the feet into the floor and feel your sitting bones reach down towards the wall. When you do that, make sure that you haven't started to arch your spine. You really want to be in a nice neutral pelvis for you. And then from here, you're going to press that top leg into the floor. And just think about sending your hips back, finding space through the front of that hip. And then from here, you are just going to roll onto the outside edge of that leg, take the block out, and then you're going to resist back down to bring your leg back to parallel. And then roll to the outside edge of that left foot, pressing it into the floor, and then place your whole foot on the ground. This is a very small movement, but wow, do I feel this in my glutes. Really thinking about that reach, that open up. My hip flexors are pretty relaxed, not doing much. Mostly just working through the glute here. 2 more like this. And then pause at the top. You can place your block back in between your legs. And then you're just going to release your legs down, but give the block for your upper leg to be supported. Hand comes behind your head, and you're just going to open one more time into that nice stretch. But here, keep thinking about reaching your feet into the wall and also reaching through the sitting bones towards the floor. And just notice if maybe you get a little bit more space. I can rotate open, just not much, but a tiny bit more. I'm going to bring my hands onto my right ribs. My left hand is now supporting my head. I'm going to take a nice deep breath into that hand on the left ribs. And exhale, trying to find a little bit more relief, gently holding on with that block, pressing my feet into the ground. Not so much for leverage, but for that, added stability. And then rotate yourself all the way forward and close. Take the block out, and you're going to come all the way up. And we are going to switch sides. So you can do all of the opening with the wall if you like. I will do half of it, and then I'll move for the second half. So your choice. Either way, hand underneath your head, knees stacked. You're reaching your sitting bones long. Hand behind your head. Left hand or left arm rather is supporting you. And then when you're ready, you're going to start to peel yourself open, reaching forward with that right knee, reaching down with that right sitting bone or both sitting bones. Also notice if now that you have what you just did on the wall in mind, it sort of changes what you want to do. And then rotate yourself back forward. And then again, open up. And come back. 2 more. Last one. And then come all the way forward. And then again, you're going to bring your feet to the wall, wherever your wall is. You can find it. Okay, so ankles are at a nice 90 degrees. Your knees are at a 90 degrees. Your hips are at a 90 degrees. And then your head is just relaxing on the floor. To start, press your feet into the wall. As you do that, feel your lower back, sort of your sacrum area, release as you feel your sitting bones drawing towards the wall as well. You're not pressing yourself away. You're like somewhere between trying to suction cup yourself like Spider-Man to the wall and pressing into it at the same time. You're going to lift that left leg up, coming onto the razor outside edge of that left foot, or right foot rather, and then resist it back to neutral. I took my block out for this. And then open up and back in. And just notice if maybe your one foot, this is a little easier to press into the wall than the other. Both legs here are active, even though only the right leg is moving. This is much harder for me to find that glute activation on my right side than my left. So, something to take note of. 4 more. 2. And last one. Putting that block in between to give your legs a little rest. And then bring both hands behind your head. And then when you're ready, you're just going to rotate open, keeping the thought of your femurs reaching back, your torso getting that nice rotation, pressing into the wall. Make sure you started in nice alignment. If you need to adjust yourself, go for it. And then bring a hand to your ribs or your back, wherever you need to breathe into. Take one nice big breath in. Exhale, find a little bit more space. And then again, inhale. Exhale, find that extra space. Hang out here for just a second. And then when you're ready, you're going to rotate all the way back. And then keeping the block between your legs, you can spin it to be, my legs are not very long, so I need the short way between my knees and my hips, not the long way. So still on the narrow way, you're not holding it like this. Still narrow, but if you need to adjust, adjust. Okay, from here, go ahead and bring that forearm underneath your shoulder. You are holding onto that block, and then slide your knees back behind you. If you have the wall right there and you want to use it and you want to press your feet up against the wall for this, cool, go for it. You don't need to. Your feet can be stacked one on top of the other. I'll do the wall just because it's here on this side. So feel that shoulder pull in. Find that space on either side of your body. Hips are nice and square, and then on your inhale, you're going to lift the hips up. If your feet are on the wall, pressing back into the wall with that top foot. Hold here. My elbow has sort of slid out from under me, so I'm going to pull it back under. Reach the top arm long. From here, you're going to lower your hips an inch or two, and then pull them back up, squeezing that block as you lift. Inhale as you lower, exhale, lift. 4 more. Thinking about that length through the torso. 3. I can't count. This is the last one. Lower all the way down. And then come onto your knees. Block is still in between your thighs. You can either be here on your knees, or you're going to tuck the toes under, keep squeezing onto that block, and find yourself in a nice plank. You're gonna lower halfway down into that push-up. Press the floor away for 8, 7. Elbows are close by your side. You have length coming out of the head. You're reaching back through the heels. You are taking your hips with you. They're not lowering before you or lifting above. 2 more. And last one. Good, drop the knees. And then you're gonna come just onto your right side. You can roll over, but I will come over here so you can see me. Have that elbow right underneath your shoulder. Make sure it isn't sliding away. You have that engagement through the underside. Find that space. Feet are stacked, hips are stacked. And then you're just gonna pull yourself up. Press the floor away with that right hand. When you're ready, lift through the top arm. Hold here for a moment, and then you're gonna lower your hips just a few inches, keeping that length, and then lift back up. Keep the length as you lower, and lift, and lower. Exhale to lift. Make sure you are starting your breath before you move, so when you inhale, you're here, you've exhaled, you've started your exhale as you lift up, not halfway through the lift. 3 more. 2. And last one. And lower all the way down. Take the block out from underneath you. You're going to put that off to the side, and you're going to find yourself in your plank one more time. Tuck those toes under. Again, find your plank. And from here, we're just going to do 4 more push-ups, but we're going to add a little extension. So all the way to the floor this time. Uncurl the toes. Keep the arms by the shoulders, hands by the shoulders. Feel yourself lift up. Your ribs are not pressing into the floor. Your belly is not pressing into the floor. They're gently drawing in towards one another. You're going to lower all the way down. Tuck the toes under or come to the knees. Press up. Find your full plank if you want. You can modify this however you need. Lower all the way down. Feel the shoulder blades gently draw in towards the spine. The toes reach back behind you. The chest lifts. Tailbone is reaching long. Press yourself all the way up. Come to your toes if you're modifying. Rather, I guess, if you're modifying but not modifying. Lift. Use your exhale to press the floor away. All the way down. Lift up. Shoulder blades gently slide in. Gaze is just at the top of your mat. Press up. 2 more. Last one all the way down. Lower. Press yourself all the way up for the last time. Inhale. Feel the elbows reach back, heels reach back. Press the floor away. Lift your hips, find a down dog here. Heels are nice and heavy, and then bend one side and then the other. Reaching the crown of your head towards the floor. And then just let your feet both fall out to one side, getting a little stretch. And then lift up. Let your heels both fall over to the opposite side. And then come back to the center. Bring your knees nice and wide. And sit your heels back. If you'd like, you can bring your block sort of in between your legs to give yourself a little place for your sitting bones to reach here, especially if your heels and glutes don't meet one another without a prop. Take a nice big inhale here. Exhale, release towards the floor. Feel your sitting bones reaching down towards the block or your heels. And then you're going to slide yourself all the way up, and you're going to come to sit on your block to finish. And if you remember which leg was in front before, try to switch. And then sitting up nice and tall, just sort of finishing how we started. You're going to reach up and over towards the right. Really feel like you're kind of inside of a balloon and you're trying to touch every inch of it. Rotate your ribs towards the floor. And then bring your hand behind your head and open up towards the ceiling. And then reach that hand long and come all the way up and over towards the other side. Same thing, like you're reaching through a balloon, really separating the ribs. And then rotate your ribs towards the floor. And then bring your hand behind your head and open up towards the ceiling. And then reach that arm long, come all the way up. Reach your fingertips all the way up, find a little bit of extra space, feel your ribs be heavy in the front. Externally rotate, press yourself all the way down. Grow nice and tall, see if you can find like a little millimeter more of space, and you're all finished. Thanks.